you see somebody in a cast and you're like, oh, what happened to your arm? And they'll tell you, oh, whatever, I fell down. But you talk to someone who's been like hospitalized for a few weeks and they tell you, yeah, I had to go to the hospital. I had a nervous breakdown. I went crazy, shit my pants, threw my dog through a window. You're like, you're like, you want to be compassionate, but there's some part of you that's like, oh, now this is a crazy person. It's like, it's just something happened. The operating system temporarily crashed, and quite often, I think that could be a very good thing. I think that having your personality or your ego crash can often mean that you were trying to be somebody that you aren't. And some people invest so much energy in trying to
self-defining.
Yeah, they just want to be something, They since they were a kid, their mother was telling them you should be like this, and then they try to be like this, and they hold up this thing. They're always working to hold up this giant tail feather, and their arms start shaking, and then they can't hold it up, and that's when they have like anger outbursts, or suddenly like their friends are like, you turned into someone that I've never met. I don't even know who that is. It's like, no. That is, you met them. You met underneath the tail feather, the seething sea of anger and disappointment and sadness. You met that thing that they're trying to avoid by looking up at this mask that they're holding up to the world. But that fucking seething sea of disappointment and anger and horror and sadness, that's where it's at, man. You got to go into that thing. And for some people, the only way they can go into that is by having a full-scale nervous breakdown, because then they can have permission to dive into that awful vortex of darkness, because underneath that vortex of darkness is paradise. Underneath that's love and happiness and joy and connection and tranquility and all that stuff. And everyone thinks that the way to get to that point is by avoiding this awful black forest that surrounds the Garden of Eden, which is inside everybody. It's inside everybody. It's there. And it doesn't matter, you can work out, and that will definitely give you a temporary good feeling. But until you address the internal structures that you haven't acknowledged, you're always going to go back to that place where you find yourself morose and depressed and angry, and you don't know why. You'll always go back to that place until you sit with the sadness inside of you. You have to do that.